Welcome back, viewers. Today, we look into a house 3 blocks away from where I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. This is the most recognizable and familiar home in Kansas City, Kansas, simply known as Sauer Castle. As you probably already know, Kansas is home to several beautiful and historic castles that range from small and modest all the way up to large and impressive. Sauer Castle in Kansas City, however, may just be the most memorable of them all, but maybe for all the wrong reasons. Even in its early years, the house was the location for several unfathomable tragedies, including the untimely death of Mr. Sauer in 1879 and the hanging of his wife Mary in 1919. The home stayed in the family and welcomed the next generations of Sauer family members, which in turn brought more some harrowing deaths by both grave illness and suicide. With these deaths, rumors of grisly murders, and other alleged folklore, the home became a hotbed to fans of the paranormal as well as ghost hunters. Around 1869, Sauer set his sights on some land towering on the cliffs overlooking the Kaw River near Rosedale, Kansas. The land was originally patented by Shawnee Indian Thomas Big Knife and was sold to Colonel J. L. Pritchard, who was using the land as a fruit farm. After purchasing 63 acres, Sauer started carefully planning. The architect of the home is not known, but many attribute its style to Asa B.B. Cross, whose work includes the Vale Mansion, Union Depot in the West Bottoms, and Gillis Opera House. It is said that everything except for the stone foundation was imported from St. Louis. Perched on top of the bluffs looking north into the Kaw River Valley, the house was built on the old Shawnee Indian trace that fed into the Santa Fe Trail. The 2.5 story home with the 4 story tower was a sight to see for miles. As the house neared completion in August of 1873, the Wyandotte Gazette reported, "It is in plain sight for a considerable distance along the southern road." The front entrance had double 3 panel doors of solid walnut with an arched stone frame. Two-handed carved sandstone lions were set to guard the impressive entrance of the mansion. On the first floor, 14-foot ceilings with 12-foot high windows welcomed visitors. It was said that 7 yards of fabric was required for each window. The receiving room included an impressive staircase with hand-carved rosewood spindles. The wood floors were made of alternate light and dark wood and were covered with expensive rugs. The parlor to the left featured Belgian lace curtains and a large fireplace with imported marble. Underneath the parlor was a large, deep wine cellar. The music room adjoined the parlor, and along with another fireplace, included a grand piano. The dining room to the west of the entrance was furnished with a marble-top table and 24 chairs. Walls were covered with expensive paintings and featuring religious figures. A system of bells on wires could be rung from any room in the house and would signal the servants to the room they were needed. The second floor held the spacious bedrooms. The master bedroom had solid walnut furniture with marble tops, lace curtains, and expensive rugs. The Sauer home was one of the first in the entire area to have running water. A hydraulic engine pumped hot and cold water from a large spring on the property. A second-floor bathroom was equipped with an elaborate marble tub for bathing. The third floor held the servants' quarters and a small room built to be a classroom. Each child had their own desk. From the third floor, the staircase extended to the tower with a lookout showcasing the spectacular view. The Sauer Castle was the residence of Anton Sauer. Sauer had married his wife Francesca in Vienna, Austria at the age of 18 and a half. There they had their 5 children: Gustav, Anthony Philip Jr., Julius J., Emil, and Johanna. Perched atop a hill overlooking the Kansas River on a winding street in an affluent residential neighborhood, Sauer Castle of Kansas City still looks like something ripped from a gothic ghost story. Built between 1869 and 1871, the 2.5 story house with the soaring tower and widow's walk is said to be the finest example of 19th century Italianate architecture in the state of Kansas. It's also to believed to be extremely haunted. The castle's original occupant was Anton Sauer, a German born businessman who moved to Kansas City from New York after the death of his first wife in 1868. Ill with tuberculosis, Sauer nevertheless survived his westward trek, where he met a 28-year-old widow named Mary Einlig Messerschmidt. The two married in 1869, adding Mary's two daughters to the family of five children Anton brought with him from New York. The couple bear five additional daughters, one of whom died in infancy in the house itself and was buried on the grounds. When Anton Sauer succumbed to the tuberculosis in his bedroom only a month later, he was laid to rest in Union Hill Cemetery, with his infant daughter reburied at his side. Though rumors persist that every member of the Sauer family is buried somewhere on the property of the now crumbling estate. In fact, Sauer Castle seems to attract many strange tales and wild stories. Legends tell of a woman who hung herself in the tall tower, or of buried treasure and buried bodies leading to a secret tunnel that leads to the river. A deranged husband supposedly murdered his entire family at Sauer Castle and buried them in the backyard before killing himself. These stories, however, are untrue. Neighbors claim to see floating lights in the tower and on the grounds, and to hear voices from within the house when no one is living there. The widow's walk is said to be haunted by the apparition of a woman who paces in a black-white gown on Halloween. A man and a woman can be seen dancing in the tower. While in fact the castle's history may be less salacious and spooky, there's plenty of dark history behind the house to please ghost hunters and historians alike. 5 generations of the Sauer family lived and died in the house, including a single recorded suicide. Over the years, several ghost hunters, psychics, and paranormal researchers have turned their attentions to the castle. In 1980s, several investigations concluded that the haunting was localized in the attic, while Maurice Schwalm, a historian of supernatural happenings and the author of the 1999 book Mo Can Ghost, the casebook of the Kansas City psychic investigator, reportedly took photographs during his investigation that showed evidence of spirits. Not all investigators are convinced of Sauer Castle's paranormal nature. After conducting a significant examination of the house and its owners, Becky Ray of Paranormal Activity Investigators seemed substantially less convinced of Sauer Castle's spectral inhabitants, referring to it as a beautiful, empty house that seems to beg for ghost stories to be attached to it. The current owner, Carl Lopp, a descendant of Anton Sauer who bought the house in 1988 with the intention of restoring it, is even clearer, stating in a post to a closed Facebook group that there are no ghosts and no evil spirits inhabiting the castle or the property. Nevertheless, ghost stories about Sauer Castle persist. Standing in the shadow of the ominous home, it's easy to see why. So long as it sits empty and strange atop the hill in Kansas City, such tales will continue to gather in its vacant rooms like cobwebs. Today, a massive chain-link fence surrounds Sauer Castle in a futile attempt to keep out vandals, sightseers, and would-be ghost hunters. Plastic private property and beware of dog signs flap in the breeze. In spite of being listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, Sauer Castle continues to deteriorate year after year. Neighbors these days seem less concerned with phantoms than they are with the fate of the house itself, which may one day transform from an out-of-the-way Kansas City landmark to just another lost piece of city's storied history.